Hey, Redcon Raider here, with special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible. Including, but not limited to, Revenant, Heloise, Unearthed in Warpaint, Dragon Matrix 7, Eerie V23, Excelsior, Gottlieb, Kazorm, Lima, Nathan Welch Jr., Thomas Pietkowski, Trip Hop and Skip, and Valenrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, let's get started. And welcome back to Werewolf the Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest. As I believe we're headed for the halfway point of this relatively short virtual novel. I have been told that apparently it's only about 5 chapters long plus prologue and epilogue. So I mean that would put chapter 3 right towards the center. And given the name we're seeing here, it does seem like we're headed into our first big conflict. I will say, it does feel slightly rushed, but at the same time I can see how they've moved all of the main pieces into place. They've established the central conflict, they've introduced what I imagine is our future pack. Anyway, let's jump in, see where this takes us. Chapter 3. Standoff. I need to talk. There was no way I was going back to sleep. Since I'd arrived in this accursed village, things had been getting more and more peculiar with every passing hour. The last dream freaked me out, and I needed to find answers to all the questions buzzing in my head. I needed to talk it over with someone I trusted. Anya, I suppose. I don't think she's a werewolf, but she is a good person to bounce things off of. I'd come here with Anya, and despite all the strange things I'd done, she still stuck with me. I messaged her, and she messaged me back. I'm on a walk. Come join me. The sun had just set. The moon wasn't up yet. I started walking. The forest loomed on the horizon. The activists' camp was somewhere there. We'd met in the shop near Białowieza. It was a characteristic enough point, and easy to get to from anywhere in town. What is it? Anya asked. She looked worried. Something strange was happening to me. I know it sounds crazy, but I think something strange is happening to me. I need to get to the bottom of it. There is something strange happening, she nodded. But I have no idea what it is. I know even less than you. She frowned. Maybe we should go to your new friends, the activists? She smiled a little. They're weird, but they must know something. So her advice is to go talk to the people that we chose not to go talk to when it gave us a choice. I mean, they sure know things, but I'm not sure if I trust them. You know what they say, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. She smiled and started walking. Let's go, I'm sure they're not sleeping. How would you know that? We went to the activists' camp. All together now. The camp had a different vibe than the logging site protest. There were more people there. We looked around trying to take it all in. They're coming and coming, Anya laughed, excited. The people in the camp seemed quite cheerful. Oh, you know what might be different is that Anya came with us. She might not have if we had chosen one of the other options. I saw people at work. Some of them were filling big barrels with sand. Some were busy making what seemed to be posters. The rest were singing or cooking. Everyone was contributing in one way or another. I looked around. I definitely needed to talk to someone about what was going on. About what I felt. I think Cornell is our better bet. Hello, I said as I approached. Cornell smiled at me. Hello, he said. What brings you here? I needed answers. I shrugged and dug my hands deeper in the pockets of my jeans. I have so many questions about myself, the forest, and the logging. Cornell looked at me with those uncanny gray eyes. I could feel his attention lock on me. "It's okay," he said. "Join us and you'll understand. We're here to stop what's happening, to show that we don't agree and that we hope to make a difference." "Will it work?" I asked. "I don't know. All I know is that it worked before. It worked for Gandhi. It worked with segregation and apartheid in the end. It worked with communism. So let's see if it works with capitalism as well. Violence is not an option here." He smiled. "And I think you know quite well that anger doesn't really get shit done." I mean, to be fair, I think in the world of werewolf, violence does often get things done, but with very messy added complications. I smiled back. Somehow being around him made me feel more relaxed. "I know, you can count on me," I answered. I had a family debt to pay, and I couldn't be just an observer anymore. "So, we may have a little citizen protest going on tonight," Cornell said. "But I'll need your support if we want to convince the others." The tipping point. They all wanted to do something that night, but after a whole day's discussion, they were still divided on what to do. 3 for one option, 3 for the other. I had the deciding vote. So Olga's plan, which is of course violence, or Cornell's plan, peaceful protest. And you know what? Not much of a question, given the routes we've taken thus far. A little help from my friends. I voted for the peaceful protest, and soon we were on our way to the National Park headquarters and education center. We had some banners to install. Oh, that's an interesting decision. I mean, I think it is fairly obvious that Anya is not a werewolf. She's a normal human, which could put her at risk if things go south here. And she might still be at risk even if we sent her home. At least here, we'd be able to try to intervene. Anya stayed with us. "This is so exciting," Anya whispered. "I've never done anything so illegal." Soon, we were there. As we were on our way, I realized that we followed the path only because of my vote. I made a difference. The National Park headquarters were located on something called Palace Park. The name was historical. The name, like everything in Poland, was historical. Centuries ago, some king had his hunting lodge there, but now it was a mishmash of old and new buildings scattered around the park. Some were rough and bulky, made of stone and brick, while others were an extravaganza of wooden porches, lace-like shutters, and meticulously sculpted pillars. There was no one around, but the area was well lit. I looked around. I looked around once more. The moon was hidden behind the clouds. I didn't see any stars in the sky. If you didn't count us, the park really seemed empty. Dead, even. Suddenly, I remembered the church located just next to the Palace Park gate. I could feel its dark silhouette looming in the darkness. Waiting. We were ready. They'd spent the whole day painting the sign on a length of material sewn together from what looked like old sheets that were various shades of grayish white. The dark green letters declared, "Wood is the enemy of the forest." "Where do we hang it?" asked Daniel, who'd come equipped with climbing gear. I shared my recommendation. I think we should attach it to the drain pipe there and there. I pointed at 2 corners of the building, and Daniel grunted in agreement. It doesn't matter, Olga said, because hanging that banner is a waste of time. She was clearly upset that we ditched her plan, but perhaps she had a point? No, I think she's fishing for a confrontation, so. Olga looked at me, as though she expected me to say something, but I didn't take the bait. It's a great banner, and I'm sure it'll look good on the pictures published by a number of independent political blogs. She looked at Cornell. But it's stuck so deep into the over-educated ecological dispute that people won't get it, and the loggers won't care. Cornell just shook his head and gestured Daniel to continue. I waited patiently. Oh yeah, Cornell took the same approach we did. She's just trying to provoke. Soon the sign was up, screaming our message to all of Białowieża. Cornell looked at me. Maya, what do you think? Yeah, okay. It's great, I guess. I didn't really get that slogan, but I decided to play it cool. Oh, I sighed. It's glorious. I'm glad you think so, he grinned. I love the wording. Humans let the forest grow so they can take wood from it. But that isn't the purpose of the forest. Finally, he pulled the banner up. It's an important message. Anya looked up with fire in her eyes. The world must know. I looked at the sign, flying high over the park. I was proud of our work. When we finished, Cornell gathered us together. I was proud of what we'd accomplished. And I contributed to that. Hey, right back to Max. Whatever my family had done, I was starting to pay back the debt. Cornell reached for his bicycle. Let's go for a trip, he said, to remind ourselves what we're trying to protect. Gunshots in the woods. The woods were full of stars. We cycled in silence, enjoying the company of the forest, as it enjoyed ours. At some point, a clearing opened up before us. It was surrounded by boulders placed in a circle. They looked relaxed. A soft breeze rustled in the trees, welcoming us. What was this place? There was something eerie about this place. I cleared my mind and inhaled. When I took a breath, I felt a wave of strange energy filling my body, harmonious and bright. I wondered if anyone else felt it as well. Do you guys feel that? I looked at my companions, but before anyone could answer, a loud sound tore through the silence. It was a gunshot. Yep, that's a gunshot. Anya gasped, looking around, wide-eyed and terrified. The others tensed up, but they didn't look concerned, just confused. Who's there? Cornell shouted. There was a rustle, and I saw a bunch of men in camo, each of them with a rifle, coming toward us between the trees. I observed them. I watched their angry steps and listened to the murmured curses. Suddenly, I noticed Bartek was with them. He winced when he saw me. Their leader weighed us up for a moment and finally focused on Cornell. This area is closed for the night, the huntsman said in Polish. There was contempt in his voice. There's a hunt going on and y'all are trespassing. We have police officers here, so I would go home if I were you. Unless you want to get arrested. This was a pile of hot bullshit. The guy reeked of guilt. I tried to de-escalate. Ooh, max analytical. I assessed the situation. There was still a chance we could talk our way out of it. Reasonably. I took a step forward. Let's be reasonable. I looked at the hunters. Maybe we should all go home, I said in Polish. were disturbing the forest. My voice was calm and steady. It made the huntsman pause. I turned to them. I turned to the hunters, calm and composed. I looked at Bartek, but he just turned his eyes away. "You don't tell me what to do, girl," the huntsman barked, and I realized with a shock that he was Bartek's dad. "You hippies go home now, or things will get nasty." I tried to calm him down. "I'm not telling you what to do. I'm speaking to everyone here," I answered. He hesitated and then shrugged. "This is our forest. We grew up with it and we're not going anywhere. You're the ones who are strangers, so get the fuck out of here." The forest belonged to no one. "That's bullshit. The forest belongs to no one," I calmly answered. "He won't listen," Olga said, cracking her knuckles. And then she launched at him. It escalated quickly. "Great, thanks, Olga. Nice to have you here." A heartbeat later, a full-blown fight began. I looked at Olga's face, twisted in anger, and I realized that there was no other way, no changing anyone's mind. Anya took a step toward the fight, then hesitated. She looked at me. "All right, well, we're into it. I guess we tough it out." I cursed and joined the fight. Night fight. The clearing shattered like a broken window into sharp pieces, its edges cut clean by the rays of flashlights swirling in the darkness. One piece, a shout, another, a silhouette leaping, a dodge, a grunt, a punch, a cry. Curses in 3 different languages. I danced between the pieces, balancing on the edges. My body slammed into one of the men and he stumbled. I prepared for his reaction. I took a step back, preparing myself. When he jumped at me, I moved to the side and tripped him when he lost balance. There was a loud thud as he fell to the ground. A flashlight shone his way. Anya screamed. She grabbed my arm. I saw blood on his head, blood on the stone next to his head, blood on the ground, dark and fresh. Oh boy, okay, I did not mean to do that. Hesitating in the middle of a fight might not be a great idea either, but then we might be feeding into our bloodlust, which could escalate things further. Okay. My heart sunk. What had I done? I took a step back. Then I heard a shout. "She killed him!" one of the men shouted, the horror clear in his voice. He directed his flashlight at my face, blinding me. Suddenly, I realized what they were doing. "What are we all doing?" I asked. Because seriously, what the fuck were we doing fighting in the middle of the night in the heart of the forest? A second later, I noticed a huge silhouette behind him. It looked at me. Its eyes were glowing. "Leave her alone," it growled, and I recognized the voice. Was that Cornell? It was Cornell. He was bulging, muscles growing bigger, bones getting longer. He let out a joyous roar, throwing his hands, now equipped with strong claws, in the air. He grabbed the man and slashed across his torso. I looked at the 8-foot-tall, fur-covered monstrosity, and for a moment I hoped that I was dreaming. I shook my head. Something warm landed on my face. More blood. Howls, terrified screams. Anya looked at me, panicked. "What do we do?" The man screamed again and pointed a gun at Cornell. "Oh, what do I do?" I mean, Cornell's a werewolf. This guy can't seriously hurt him, but he's also possibly in a rage, which really complicates things. If we run, Bartek's dad gets killed. And we hurt our relationship with Cornell. if we try to protect the hunter, then Cornell will absolutely attack us back if he's raging. If we attack the guy with the gun, we're in human form, so in theory he survives? I acted on instinct. I zeroed in on the man pointing the gun and launched myself at him. A gunshot tore through the night. And then there was only pain. Cool. Bloody moon. The pain was unbearable. Nothing in my life had prepared me for this. Yay. I started laughing. Blinded by the blood in my eyes and the searing pain in my shoulder and chest, I could only laugh. This wasn't what I'd expected from this trip. You spend so much time planning, only to see your whole life crash and burn. All I could do was laugh. But I knew how serious it was. So I laughed, grinning with bloodied teeth until my strength left me, and I couldn't hold myself upright anymore. The forest caught my fall with a bed of moss and twigs. I stopped thrashing and a cold numbness engulfed me. No, I tried to get up. I punched the earth, trying to get some feeling in my hands. I gritted my teeth and tried to get up. I collapsed again. I felt so cold. Suddenly, there was light. I looked up. The full moon. It looked different. Luna in her full glory. The moon was a goddess, and she noticed me. "Get up," she said. "Yes, ma'am." I get up. I feel good. I know that I shouldn't, but I don't remember why. I don't care. I guess we could use some health. I stretch. My muscles are sore and cramped, so I stretch like I've never stretched before. My arms are longer. My legs are stronger. My heart is pumping, and I feel like I've spent my whole life packed into a box, and I've finally been set free. My mind is clear. It's clearer than it's ever been before. I see the world in sharp contrasts of black and white, movement and stillness. I smell prey. I hear language in the hooting of owls, the whistling of the wind, and the snarling of wolves. I am what I was born to be. I breathe. I take a breath and feel my ribs and muscles move. The forest smells of blood and fear and excitement. I'm happy. I laugh happily, and the others' laughter joins me. We laugh and sing to the moon. Something stings me. I look around. There's a small, malformed creature pointing a stick at me. The stick blazes with fire, and there's another sting. The creature is no threat to me, but its presence is annoying. Its smell almost sends me reeling. And I don't like being pricked. Phrasing. I push the creature away, and it flies through the air, making funny noises. Then it hits a tree and stays there, pinned to a branch like a butterfly. Cool, cool. Well, that man's dead. My ears prick, and I hear more creatures running blindly through the bushes. I feel better. Do I? My leg no longer stings, and I feel better than ever before. Is this a dream? Maybe it is a dream, I think, as I move silently through the undergrowth. The creatures are running away, their backs turned to me. I watch them and learn how they move. Suddenly, one of them turns my way. We lock glances. I just look at it. I look at it, and the creature curls up, shielding its face with its paws. It keeps talking, but the noises make no sense. Okay, let's not murder this guy. It annoys me, but I ignore it and move on. Piercing lights burn my eyes. The creatures surround me. They seem to work like a pack. They are dangerous. Oh no, if we have to fight back. If we run, we're broken-willed. I hide in the shadows, and they are too slow, too dumb, too clueless to notice me. I strike them down one by one. Some fight back. Some manage to defend themselves briefly, but most of them don't see me coming. A new smell. The wind brings a new smell. The air tastes of fur and musk and blood. Shapes move among the trees, but they are no creatures. They are people, like me. Suddenly, I'm surrounded by them. I think I know them. They seem familiar. It's like I met them in the past, but they were hidden. They close in on me. What do they want? I wait. I relax and wait for them, unflinching. They approach me and sniff the air. Their smells are overwhelmingly familiar. One of the people had sounds attached to them, but now I realize the sounds were not their true names. I look up and see no moon, only clouds and tangled branches. Something changes. Oh, and we're back. Suddenly, I realized how tired I was. I stumbled. Darkness. Nothing was okay. The night sky was full of stars. I opened my eyes. Confused, I opened my eyes. The forest around me was thick and dark. The tree trunks, wrapped tightly in dark-leaved ivy, were covered in ripples of lichen, where the vines hadn't taken hold. The thorny, leafless bushes at their base were overrun with nettles. The fungi radiated with a ghoulish, sickly green light. Dark, sponge-like mushrooms clung to the fallen trees. I tried to breathe. I took a deep breath and winced. There was a foul smell in the air. Suddenly, I realized it wasn't the forest that smelled so foul. It was me. I looked down and saw my hands covered in a dark substance. I was naked. A sticky, glistening film of liquid was clinging to my skin. I could feel it on my face, in my hair. Blood. Whose blood was this? Had I killed someone? I knew what was coming. I remembered my dream and slowly lifted my eyes. There was a severed head right in front of me. I felt sick. The face was contorted, the eyes bulging, the mouth open. The tongue stuck out. It was obscene. I doubled over, retching. I recognized that face. Oh God, I recognized that face. It was Bartek. His face splattered with dried blood. There was so much of it, I couldn't see his freckles. The head watched me with reproach. I screamed. No! I let out a long, blood-curdling scream. The night swallowed it. The bushes rustled, and a moment later I saw Cornell coming out from between the trees. He looked at me, at the head, at my face. He came closer and squatted beside me. This is what we were trying to tell you. His gray eyes smiled. See, you're a werewolf. I looked at him. I blinked. Everything faded to black. Yeah, Cornell, probably not the best thing to say at this particular time, but here we are. Oh man, poor Bartek. And chapter break. Chapter 4. Man, I wonder if Bartek is always scripted to die there, or if there's some way to not kill him. Maybe if we had run, maybe if we had just consistently tried to run from the fight. But no, because then the prologue wouldn't have happened. Then we wouldn't have matched up with the dream of waking up with a severed head in front of us. So someone had to die there. Man, that's rough. But also very World of Darkness. Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I've actually run a World of Darkness campaign, but most of the settings do tend to have character origins steeped in blood. Either their own or that of people around them. So, I mean, it is very fitting. It is very thematic for the setting. Alright, well, you know, normally I'd call it here because a chapter break is a good place to pause, but we're just barely at the half-hour mark. I also have no idea how much is actually left of this thing, so I guess we'll push on a little farther. Yeah, we'll try to push for at least 40. Chapter 4. Lost in the Woods. The heart of the forest. The morning smelled of fir, earth, and the forest. Over the gentle snoring that filled the warm space under the low-hanging branches of an old spruce tree, I heard a squirrel. I was hungry. I went outside. Stepping over the sleeping forms, I made my way outside. Alone, hiding in the tall grass, I sniffed around. The sky was bright and the forest around me was dark and full of interesting smells. High in the trees, birds yelled about status, sex, and violence. Something was wrong with that picture. Something wasn't right. My brain wasn't working as it should. The smells were too strong. The grass was too tall. There was a quality I couldn't recall that was missing from the view in front of my eyes. A creature stirred in bushes nearby, a tall, dark silhouette. A strangely familiar smell. I tensed up. I watched the human as they looked around. "Maya, there you are," they said when they noticed me. It was time to get out of there. I spasmed. Suddenly, a feeling like a cramp or spasm surged through me, and everything changed. I was Hamid, the human form. My body started resetting itself to the familiar shape, and it hurt. Bones broke and fused again. Muscles and sinews moved under my skin. I cried and thrashed. Then, panting and sweaty, I was Hamid again. I hit the ground with my bare ass. Colors exploded. The morning breeze suddenly became cold, and I shivered. I looked up. Confused, I looked at the person approaching me. "Good morning, girl. I have something for you." Lisa smiled and threw me a bundle of clothes. "Remember that they won't survive the change. I'll teach you the right to help with that, if you survive that long." Oh, okay. I was obviously expecting Cornell. I took the bundle. I snatched the bundle and started pulling the clothes on. Sturdy but comfortable boots, cargo pants, a green hoodie. They fit perfectly. I thought about the previous night. I thought about when I was raging through the forest, about how differently I experienced the world through the wolf's senses, and about the discomfort and confusion of changing shape. So, I was a werewolf. Yeah, we've all been there. There was no denying it. I was no longer human. Also, I remembered that I had maybe killed a bunch of people, and that was of some mild concern. There was a murder last night, I said anxiously. What if they find my DNA at the crime scene? We'll take care of that. Human laws aren't as relevant for you anymore. We just stood there for a moment, comfortable in silence. I was wondering how one usually learned that they were a werewolf. I asked Lisa about her story. How did you become a werewolf? I asked Lisa. My grandpa saw that I had a soul of a wolf and started teaching me about the spirit world. She looked at me with her violet eyes. When the time was right, he guided me through the change. Yeah, that does sound slightly more ideal. Had my grandpa also tried to help me? I realized that I had more in common with Lisa than I had previously thought. My grandpa was telling me stories about the Pushcha, I said. And I think that made me who I am now. Oh, he did more then. He must have told you about the Garou, Lisa said. How else would you know the High Tongue? That was a good question. But how come nobody knew about werewolves? It doesn't make any sense, it suddenly struck me. How come nobody knows werewolves exist? We protect the veil, was the answer. It's easy to convince humans that supernatural doesn't exist. They already want to believe that. And the delirium helps. Delirium? You mean delirium as in the medical condition? I asked, remembering something I'd read about acute confusional states. You'll have to ask Pat for that. But the gist of it is that humans are incapable of remembering that they saw a Krynos, she laughed. They panic, turn away, and instantly forget. Every time. Right, I do remember that. Man, it's been so long since I played werewolf, but that is coming back to me. Then I realized something important. At some point, the rest of the party had awoken and joined us. The clearing was full of wolves. Well, crap. Fight or flight? Okay, this is obviously a pretty major choice, and I am still trying to absorb everything that just happened, so you know what? I feel like this. This is a good place to call it. We'll hit the pause button for now, but we will pick up here next time as we start navigating our new reality. See you then. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Werewolf the Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website, the official social media feeds, or the official store pages. And if you'd like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things, or maybe even check out the Patreon. Links are in the description.